I still remember the way the rain felt that night, like needles stabbing my skin. I was 21, and the man I thought loved me had just backhanded me so hard, my lips split open. Jake's voice was still ringing in my ears as I grabbed the small backpack I kept hidden under the bed. "You're nothing without me, Ava. You'll come crawling back." I didn't answer. I just ran. My sneakers slapped against the wet pavement, heart hammering louder than the thunder. Behind me, I heard the front door slam, and his heavy footsteps chasing. I ducked into an alley, pressed myself against a dumpster that smelled of rotting garbage and despair, and waited until his curses faded into the storm. When I finally stumbled out, I had nothing but the clothes on my back, a dead phone, and bruises blooming across my cheek. That night I slept under the old concrete bridge on the edge of town. The wind howled through the girders like it was mocking me. Water dripped from the cracks above, soaking the thin blanket I'd pulled from a trash can. I curled into a ball, teeth chattering, wondering how my life had shrunk to this, a 21-year-old girl hiding like an animal. Every car that passed made me flinch. Every shadow looked like Jake. The days blurred together under that bridge. I learned to time the soup kitchen runs, learned which trash bins behind the supermarket still had edible scraps. My stomach gnawed at itself constantly. I washed in public restrooms when no one was looking, trying not to cry when I caught my reflection. Hollow eyes, matted hair, the purple fingerprints around my throat, fading but never really gone. At night, the fear was worse. I kept imagining Jake's face appearing in the darkness, that cold smile he wore right before the hitting started. How long before he found me? How long before I broke and went back, just to make the terror stop? One freezing afternoon, I dragged myself to the public library. My fingers were numb as I used their free Wi-Fi to scroll for any way out. That's when I saw a tiny listing in the unusual properties section. Fixer, upper, 3, bedroom, sold as, is for back taxes. $5. Serious buyers only. The photos showed a sagging porch, broken windows, and weeds swallowing the yard. But it was a house. 4 walls. A door that could lock. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. $5. It felt like a cruel joke. Or maybe the first real chance I'd had in months. I scraped together the money from odd jobs, washing windshields, collecting cans, anything that kept me moving and hidden. 2 days later, I was on a rattling bus heading 2 hours outside the city, clutching a cashier's check and the deed that now had my name on it. When the bus dropped me off at the end of a dirt road, the house looked even worse than the pictures. Paint peeled like dead skin. The roof dipped in the middle. But it was mine. For the first time in forever, something belonged to me. I pushed open the creaky front door and stepped into a tomb of dust and silence. The smell hit me first: damp wood, old paper, and something metallic underneath. I spent the first week just trying to make it livable. I nailed plastic over the broken windows, scrubbed the floors until my knees bled, and patched the worst leaks with tarps I found in the shed. At night, I'd sit on the warped porch steps with a single candle, listening to the wind move through the empty rooms, and for a few precious hours I almost felt safe. But safety never lasts. It started small. A floorboard would creak upstairs when I knew I was alone. I'd find a drawer I'd close the night, before standing open in the morning. One afternoon, while ripping up rotten wallpaper in the hallway, my fingers brushed something cold behind the plaster, a small metal latch. I tugged it open and found a narrow space, barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. Inside was an old shoebox. Inside the box were photos. Dozens of them. All of me. Some were from before I left Jake, selfies I'd sent him. Others were newer. Me under the bridge, asleep, my face half hidden by my hood. Me walking to the library. Me stepping off the bus 2 hours ago. My hands started shaking so hard the photos scattered across the floor like dead leaves. That night, the noises weren't random anymore. They had rhythm. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from the crawl space I'd found. I grabbed the rusty kitchen knife I'd been using to scrape paint and crept toward the hallway. My own breathing sounded deafening. I pried the hidden panel open again, flashlight trembling in my other hand. Deeper inside, behind a false wall I hadn't noticed before, was a tiny room I never knew existed. Modern. Out of place. A folding chair, a small table, and on the table a laptop. The screen was on. Live feed. 4 camera angles showing every room of the house, including the hallway where I was standing right now. Red recording dots blinked like evil eyes. I clicked through the files with numb fingers. Videos of me sleeping under the bridge. GPS logs tracking my phone even after I thought I'd lost it. And then the worst part, a folder labeled Ava's New Home. Inside were emails between Jake and a fake account that had paid the back taxes on this exact house 3 months before I ever saw the listing. He'd been waiting. He'd listed it for $5, knowing I was desperate, knowing I searched for cheap places to hide. The house wasn't abandoned. It was bait. My knees gave out. I slid down the wall, knife clattering beside me. He had never stopped stalking me. Every terrified night under that bridge, every hopeful moment I spent hammering nails into these walls he had watched. The man who swore he'd kill me if I left had built me a cage and left the door open just wide enough for me to walk inside. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for the candle to burn low and the wind to start howling again. Then I heard it real footsteps outside the front door. Heavy. Familiar. Jake's voice, low and mocking through the wood. I knew you'd come, baby. Time to come home. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I grabbed the laptop, the photos, the knife, and I called the police from the one corner of the house with cell service. My voice was steady for the first time in months. I told them everything. They arrived in time. Jake was arrested right on my porch, still holding the spare key he'd kept since the day he secretly bought this place. The evidence on that laptop was enough to put him away for a long time. Stalking, harassment, intent to harm. I kept the house. I finished the repairs with my own hands, turning every dark corner into something bright. The hidden room is gone now. Just smooth new drywall and fresh paint. The color of dawn. Sometimes at night I still hear the wind, but it doesn't scare me anymore. It sounds like freedom. I was 21 when I ran. 22 when I finally stopped looking over my shoulder. The girl who once slept under a bridge now sleeps in a bed she earned with courage she didn't know she had. And if you're out there right now scared, broke, feeling like there's no way out, I want you to remember this. Sometimes the cheapest house on earth turns out to be the most expensive lesson you'll ever learn, but it can also be the beginning of everything. I escaped more than just him. I escaped the fear that kept me small. And every morning when I open these windows and let the light pour in, I know the storm is finally over. Thank you for listening to my story. If it reached you, please share it. Someone out there might be under their own bridge right now, searching for a $5 miracle. Tell them hope is real, even when it comes wrapped in shadows. I didn't run. I grabbed the laptop, the photos, the knife, and I called the police from the one corner of the house with cell service. My voice was steady for the first time in months. I told them everything. They arrived in time. Jake was arrested right on my porch, still holding the spare key he'd kept since the day he secretly bought this place. The evidence on that laptop was enough to put him away for a long time. Stalking, harassment, intent